Good morning, this is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the pre-market webinar for the morning of Thursday, the 12th of February. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer to your own charts, and I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right. Okay, the weak sell signals I was talking about a couple of days ago worked out pretty well. We didn't actually make the sell signal on the ES chart. We didn't have one on NQ. We did make the target on the RTY chart. I wasn't. This is actually a bit weak in terms of the amount of level it bounced off the 50 level before it's. Technically, we had a sell signal here, and technically that's made the possible near miss target. But I looked at it and I wasn't actually entirely happy with it, so I'm not going to count it. That's actually an unusually weak one. All right, DAX, we're breaking slightly over this potential double bottom here, but it's not really a double bottom because it's too large relative to the high, but it was obviously a barrier that needed to be broken on the way back to the high. I think we're going to get there. No sell signal here, and we did have one on ESTX, which made target. Again, we've got a potential level top here. Brewing. I don't think, it was quite dramatic what we saw, but really, in terms of whether it actually really made much difference, I think the answer is probably not. What we have got here is we've broken up over the daily middle band on ES, and we've broken over it, and we back tested it yesterday on the SPX daily chart. So I'm liking this as a conversion to get us back up into a retest of the all-time high at 7,002. In terms of the hourly chart, no current book divergence. In terms of the 15-minute chart, we had a little bit of negative divergence here. That has played out. So again, no divergence there now. Looking at Qs, Qs obviously is the weak one here, and we have got back to the back test of the daily middle band and the 50 DMA, and so far that's holding as resistance. Obviously, we need to get back above those if we're going to see another retest of the all-time high, which strictly from a topping process point of view isn't necessary. But obviously, if we're going to make some high retests on the others, we might need Qs to get back over the daily middle band. No divergence on the hourly chart, no divergence on the 15-minute. Again, we had a little 15-minute RSI 14 sell signal, and again, that's made the possible near miss target, and I'm disregarding now. All right, looking at Dia. Dia was the strongest. We actually reached the 3SD upper band twice in the last 4 days. So this is looking stretched to the upside, and interestingly, it made it back to my trend line, which I was wondering about. Now, what we're watching here is to see whether that trend line is going to break. And I do have an alternate which I'm going to draw in. Hang on, wait a second. Give me a second. Let's just draw these in properly. I was wondering because we never actually made it back to the low there. So it hasn't broken over the trend line. Well, I'm going to draw the possible alternative in anyway. But this is, well, that's obviously reached the main resistance trend line, and it may hold it. So I am expecting to see a high retest, really ideally on SPX, but that Dow one, that's kind of important. And at the moment, it's gone to exactly where I expected it to go, and it's holding that as resistance so far. That is a suggestion that we might be in the process of reversing back down. We will see how that goes. This would be the other trend line. It's not as nice, is what I would say. But in the event that we did go through, that would be a possible alternative we could get back to. All right, hang on. All right, let's have a look at the hourly and 15-minute charts. All right, looking at the hourly charts, we had a buy signal, and that's now reached the full target. And Dia, 15-minute, we didn't have any negative divergence here, but now I am wondering whether we are potentially forming a high here. Let's just have a quick look at the others in the light of that. In the event that we see a larger retracement, this is a beautiful large double top on Qs. It requires nothing else. Looking at SPX, we've got a pretty decent looking double top here nested. Now there is an obvious case for a retest of this high at this stage, but I would say the alternative is this could be a head and shoulders. Look at where the left shoulder was very, very close to the high. This could be left shoulder, head, right shoulder. This could be topping out too. All right, let's have a look at IWM. All right, let's have a look at that on the daily chart. Okay, what are we looking at here? Here, we could use a high retest. And the reason we could use a high retest is because we don't really have an overall topping pattern here. Honestly, I'm not absolutely wild about the resistance trend line either, which is why I've got two alternatives in. But if we were to do this, we could be topping here. But the problem with topping here is that it looks like we were forming, if we made a lower low, it would look like we were forming a bull flag. It could be that we've got this trend line here, which we have overthrown here, and then now back testing and holding as resistance. But if we were to do that, I would be thinking in terms of a bull flag forming. If we were to see a decent looking high here, then I'd be looking for a retest of the high. But in the event that, let's say on Dow, I'm watching out closely for highs, obviously, here because the market is wildly overbought, and tech is in an obvious bubble, and we're seeing signs of weakness on tech. So I'm wondering whether this might develop. What we could do, if that LWM thing was to form a bull flag, what we could do here is on Dow, we could come back, retest the low, maybe break slightly below it, then come back in for the retest, and then we could get a topping setup on IWM. So I am wondering about that. But at the moment, if we were to see a decent topping setup on IWM, we would need to get back and retest the high. Without that, it looks incomplete and will very much look like a bull flag forming. All right, let's have a look at DAX and the SDX. DAX is back over the daily middle band and it's back tested it, and I'm liking a retest of the high. That could set up a nice little double top if we were to see it. Nikkei, this has been any setup of topping setup here has been disrupted by the election. I'm not really expecting to see one form here, and at the moment we would need to stop making highs and stop backfilling and forming a pattern there. At the moment we are continuing and making new highs, so there's no topping pattern here to speak of. We might be evolving a larger pattern here. The obvious resistance trend line would be up here, which is not far above. That's potentially a target, and I've got that approximately in the 59,000 area. All right, let's have a look at the others. All right, DX, we had a weak 6-minute buy signal, and that's reached the possible near-miss target. We've seen basically, we saw this move up here, we've seen a 50 back, that did fail the head and shoulders, inverted head and shoulders here. Could we be forming an alternate pattern? No. Could we be forming a bear flag and this be an AB? Yes. I am wondering if we might be doing that, or retest the high and then possibly reverse back into the lows. Everyone's announcing the death of the dollar at the moment, and I have to say the admin is not doing a good job of taking care of the dollar. But nonetheless, I'm not seeing anything imminently saying collapse to me, but we'll see. All right, looking at the EUR/USD chart, I am wondering about possible retest this high, but again, we've got this could be A, B, and go lower. GBP/USD. Could be forming a larger flag with this being A and B. This wasn't a bad looking flag, but not bad looking flags often turn into larger flags anyway. USD/JPY actually came back and almost did a full retest to the low. But I mean, this is the kind of thing you get when you've got intervention. In the short term, I haven't marked it in yet, but I've got a 60-minute buy signal which is fixed here. So I'd be looking for a little more upside. USD/CAD. USD/CAD almost made it back into the retest to the low. Again, I'm wondering about flags forming A, B. Bit wild, but A, B. So a flag doesn't need to be a lot smaller than the preceding one, but this is a kind of flag that the wave C can actually retest the high. Australian dollar, we've got a nice looking potential at a level top, and we've got a 60-minute sell signal, weak 60-minute sell signal fixed, and NZUSD. Pretty close to retest the high, but again, could be AB. I am wondering about flags here across the currencies. All right, looking at CL, this still looks like a bullish consolidation, but it looks like a bullish consolidation which might retest the high and give a potential opportunity for a double top when we retest 66.5. I haven't been paying much attention to the war stuff for the last couple of days, but I don't think much has moved really. This again looks like bullish consolidation, bit large for a conventional bear flag. But again, just trading sideways at the moment. RBOB has made a new high. We've got a little level top here, which is trying to break down with the target in about the 1.905 to 1.91 area, and it may well go and do that. That could be part of a larger head and shoulders forming. We will see. NG, we obviously retested. We had this flag. We retested the low. We've got a potential double bottom here, or this could be just rallying a bit before it continues down to retest this low. Waiting to see. GC. I mentioned this earlier. Still, my lines are moving a lot. I'm going to need to redraw this chart again. Is this a double bottom? No, because the original low is down here. My data has been variable on the metals for the last, well, so far this week. So I'm going to redraw this, but I'm not treating this as a double bottom breaking up. SI has potential bottoming action here. I've drawn this in as a wedge, as I think that's what it is. And this is looking pretty nice. Again, things are moving a bit. Little data points are appearing when they shouldn't. So hang on a second. I'm just redrawing that line slightly. Okay, so this could just be a rally before this goes back and retests the low. Wondering about a possible bear flag forming here. On palladium, this again looks like a double bottom, and again isn't really one. This again was a lower low when it first came through. Platinum, this is a potential double bottom, but not showing any signs of breaking up. Again, we got a similar wedge. Again, the line has moved, and again that's kind of annoying. Hang on 1 second. I don't like having to redraw my charts. Okay, all right. So that's a nice looking falling wedge, breaking up. But this could just be a retrace before it goes down. Wondering again about a possible little bull flag, bear flag forming. HG, nice looking. Again, my data moved around on this. We've got a nice looking little falling wedge here. It has broken up. It's retraced about 50%. I am wondering whether we're in an overall topping process here. We'll see. All right, looking at KC. KC, 60-minute buy signal is fixed, hasn't made target yet. Thinking this is just a rally before possible bear flag forming before we go lower. SB has gone lower. fully retested this low here. No sign of anything resembling a double bottom. I'm wondering still about that target, which I've been wondering about with the target at 9. CC. CC, we've got a ongoing decline here, continuing lower. Again, bigger picture charts. This could go significantly lower still. We're still only just getting into the traditional areas in which this has been trading before this huge spike up we saw. Looking at CT, CT again can go lower. I'll talk more about this when I'm doing the chart on the bigger picture chart on Sunday, but there's no particular reason to think this is anything other than the bear flag forming. Lumber, we broke up here, but obviously nothing's happened in a month. So I'm concerned that the bigger picture downtrend is taking back over. We will see. ZW still hasn't made it to the double bottom. Looks as though we're going to have another crack at that. When we retest this high here, we could potentially be setting up a small high, a small double top, and we've got a weak 6-minute sell signal brewing. On looking at corn, we've got a nice looking bear flag here, and it looks like it's starting to break down. Sell signal made target, no current positive divergence. On soy, we retested this high. This is a potential little level top, and we don't have any negative divergence at the moment. We could get some on a retest of this high. Looking at ZL, ZL is continuing higher on live cattle, possible topping action, and on HE we have broken down from the channel which overthrew first, but channels aren't really supposed to do that. So I'm watching with interest here. This is a technically interesting one. But I think we're just doing a bit of a retracement here. I'm not sure how far it will get, and we've got no obvious topping pattern. So we'll see. All right, great. Let's have a quick look at questions, of which we have none. All right, great. In that case, it's a wrap. I'll catch everyone tomorrow, and everyone take care.